Hey, how you doing? This is Martin, owner trainer Fuller Fitness, and the goal of this video is to do a back exercise, and the back exercise that I am going to do are rows. Doing rows with bands, and the interesting thing about it is the fact that you can increase your strength and increase your size with bands, and I'm fairly surprised, uh, probably more shocked that more people are not using bands to increase their strength compared to people who might use it for toning, and people who are likely to use it for um, prehab, rehab, and stuff like that. But you can also utilize it for strength if you do it correctly, um, with whatever bands that you have, especially if you have them get banned from Body Elastics. Why Body Elastics? Because I've been getting banned from Body Elastics for at least 17 years, maybe a little longer. So, one, the fact that I can increase my strength by utilizing them, increase my size at least a little bit by utilizing them. And with me being 38 in 4 weeks, and vegan, to still be able to increase my strength as much as I have specifically this year. I've increased my strength so much this year compared to years past, going on 38 in a few weeks and being vegan. So it really depends on what you do and how you do it. So with bands, I have two bands. One is um, equivalent to 40 pounds, and the other one is equivalent to 23 pounds. But if you use these in a certain way, so the further with bands, the more you stretch them, the more you'll feel it. So I only have 63 pounds on here, but once you stretch them, and with this exercise, your height doesn't necessarily matter, in my opinion at least, as long as you do it. So you stretch the bands, you got to make sure there's no slack. So hopefully you can actually see that, to where if there's slack in it and then you do it, you can do 100 reps and that's a waste of time. So make sure there's no slack in the bands like that, so make sure they're, tension there before you get started, at least for those who are confident in themselves and actually trying to do it instead of trying to trick someone into believing they're stronger than they really are, including themselves. So with this, you take it upon yourself. You can either, bend both knees and start working, or stand and have one leg back. Again, with high hopes you're not dancing around, which might look cute to certain people, but it's unnecessary and useless. So keep the feet flat on the floor. Don't lean back. I don't think that will help you at all. I would say drop your butt at least a little bit for the sake of having that base. All right, and then hopefully, depending on if you're actually able to do it, because the one thing I love about bands, if you can't do it, you can't do it. So, boom. Wow, I actually moved my whole rack. That's interesting. And six, I think. All right, so, in my opinion, it's not necessarily about whether it's better, or anything like that. For me, it's just the opportunity to do something at least a little bit different. And one, it's different. Two, it's fun. Three, it works. Four, you don't have to spend as much money with bands, almost regardless of what bundle you get. Because even if you get what might be a max tension bundle, um, can't remember the price, but I think before shipping and handling and taxes, I think it's less than $100. So you might be able to get a really good set of bands, bundle up bands, for like $96, I think, depending on where you get them from, and be able to utilize it if other people live with you, girlfriend, wife, boyfriend, husband, if you have kids of a certain age. So, again, not only for you to be able to use it, but depending on who else might be living with you or any friends or family you have come over, they can use it too. So if they can't do two bands like I am, maybe they take one off and do at least the one, and then stand back a certain distance, and then get their stuff in and done. So it doesn't take up a lot of space depending on where you are and what you're doing. But even if you were in a studio apartment, I believe you still should be able to get an abundance of stuff done without it taking up a lot of time or a lot of space. So I'm going to do one more exercise for this video. And it's equivalent to a lat pull down at the gym or wherever you might do a lat pull down on a machine is the word I think I need to use. So I'm using my power rack. So I'm just setting it up. And then I'll turn the camera around to where you can actually see it for anyone who hasn't seen it already. Alright, so, and I am going to actually use a bar, again, equivalent to, similar and equivalent to what it would be at the gym. Taking the handles off that I just used, grab my bar, and again, this isn't, I know people want to compete with everything, but sometimes the stuff that you're doing doesn't necessarily have to be better, but just an additional thing for you to do in order for you to improve. And as far as what I do here on my channel is mostly strength stuff. So, whether it's dumbbells, which again, depending on how long you've followed me, you've seen me do certain things, including doing an incline dumbbell chest press with 133 pounds. So again, to go from that to doing stuff like this is just a matter of preference and possibly being able to do it. So obviously if you can't do it, it don't matter all that much. Alright, so just turn this over and you'll just see, shucks. So with this, if you have a power rack, or depending on where you put your bands, and you have certain things at home, alright, so if you have certain things at home, then you will, so that I have it set up on, but depending on what you're using, you can do, use a, see if I can find it. You can use a door anchor and use it on your door, or use an anywhere anchor like I have here and wrap it around a tree. So let me see. I have the anywhere anchor. What's called the anywhere anchor. To where you can wrap it around your bar, your bands, wrap it around a tree to do the rows that you just saw me do, or wrap it around a tree up top so that you can do your lat pull down. For some reason I don't see my door anchor, which is annoying because as soon as I turn this video off, I will suddenly find it, which is really going to piss me off. But again, if you look at bodyelastics.com, you should be able to see all that you need to see. All right. In terms of the bundle of bands, all right. So with this, you're down on your knees, almost regardless of how tall you might be, and then lean forward so that again you can work the upper back as you plan to. So again, the only difference between doing it at home compared to doing it at the gym is that you're not sitting down. All right, so then you just lean forward. You're on at least one knee, and then just like you would at the gym or the hotel gym or whatever, and pull it down just like you would. Just the only difference is you're not sitting. So again, depending on which band you use, first of all, second, how much you stretch the band in order for you to be able to feel it, and which band that you are using. So there's a lot to take into consideration when you're doing anything like this. How many sets, how many reps, which band you're going to use. How much you stretch it, how much time you take in between sets. So this will be my last set. I usually only do 2. And for those who might ask why, I say why not. Especially seeing that my goal is not to look a certain way for a magazine cover or anything like that. My focus is on what I can do more compared to what I look like. So it's not like I care about being super fat and unfit, unhealthy, or anything like that. But at the same time, not trying to look sexy for someone else. All right. So like I said, again, I don't think it's about whether it's necessarily better, but it can be different and still helpful depending on what, how, and why you do certain things. So, if you're doing a back workout, and again, having handles, and whether you do pronated, supinated, or neutral, and get your rolls in. take a certain amount of time in between sets, depending on how heavy you're going, how many sets you're doing. With high hopes, you can go all out for every set that you do. And that was just 2 exercises for the sake of this video. So again, you can give it a try. Give it a try if you haven't already. And then you know, make sure you're using certain bands, because I've seen certain bands that is supposedly the heaviest one I have goes to 40 pounds. I've seen some that are supposedly heavier, but they're so long to where you would have to be really tall or stretch it so much just to feel it, compared to the bands that I have, to where you set it up wherever you set it up, on your power rack, your door, you know, wherever it is that certain people might set certain stuff up. Oh, there it is. Found it by accident. I wasn't looking for it. Actually, that's pretty much how I usually find stuff. Found it by accident. So I was talking about the door anchor. So if you put your bands in here and put this part in your door somewhere, to where you can do your rows, chest presses, lat pull downs, all the, you know, flies, that, you know, depending on how much room you have and what you're doing and how you're doing it, you know. So again, I wanted to show you this stuff like 5 minutes ago, and I just randomly found it by accident. Of course, I thought I wasn't gonna find it till after the video was done, but you know, so it's not super big. You put this part in your door, close the door, you lock your door, and then you do your exercises. The reason I'm not doing that is because with the apartment that I live in, there's not enough room for me to go over there and do the workouts, any workouts that I want to do. Actually, that's not entirely true. There's only certain workouts that I can do if I put my door anchor over there and try to do. And so not only to try to do whatever workout that I want to do, but you know, setting this camera up to where I can actually do the workout and actually record it. So again, to make it known that you can actually increase your strength and increase your size, depending on, you know, almost regardless of how much size and how strong you're trying to get, if you choose to utilize it. And not only that, just to do this for a certain period of time, and then if you go back to dumbbells like I'm going to, you go back to dumbbells. Dumbbells are my preference. I don't use a bar for anything except for squat and maybe deadlifts. So if you do go back to the bar, the dumbbells, or whatever it is that you use, you should notice a difference in terms of how much you're doing, because this challenges your muscles differently, challenges you differently. And if you do that, you know, and accept that challenge and then go on, you know, go back to the dumbbells and the bar, you should feel a difference in a good way. And just, you know, go back to bands every 8 weeks or so. You know, if you want to do it more, like I will, because again, I've been doing it for at least 17 years, if not longer. So I'll go back to bands whenever I feel like it. But for you, if you know, if you don't care for it that much, you know, do it for at least a week, just to give your muscles something else to do for the sake of trying and challenging your muscles differently. And then once you go back to the bar and the dumbbells or whatever it is that you use, you should feel somewhat of a difference, especially basically to get a good workout with bands, but it not bothering your joints as much, if at all, actually, as long as you don't do anything stupid. But then you go back to the dumbbells and the bars, and all of a sudden, whatever it was you couldn't do before, because this challenges you differently, go back to the bar, go back to the dumbbells, and all of a sudden, whatever dumbbell you couldn't move before, one, being able to do it, two, possibly being able to do more reps, three, possibly be able to move it faster. So there's just so many different ways to improve, and you don't necessarily have to stick to one thing trying to improve whatever that thing is. So hopefully you enjoyed this at least a little bit. to where you like the video, share the video with other people that might be interested at least a little bit, especially for teenagers. Depending on what they have going on in terms of wanting certain equipment, wanting to increase their strength, but not having the money or the space to get swole, to get strong, and get a good workout in for whatever it is that might be holding them back just yet. And then if you have certain questions, comments, or concerns, don't hesitate to leave a comment at the bottom, especially if it's a question worth asking. I did hear when I was growing up that there's no such thing as a stupid question, but it seems like people are trying to prove that theory wrong. So depending on what your question, go ahead and ask your question. I'll answer it as soon as I can and as best as I can. This is Martone, owner and trainer for Fuller Fitness. Take care.